Hello, everyone. It's Eman and Liz here with ENL Talks. And today we're going to talk to you guys about how self doubt is simply a barrier we put on ourselves to stop us from achieving our goals.
So, we actually thought that this was a great topic to touch on this week, partially because we were already in the midst of a casual conversation. And we just started to think, self doubt within itself is such a powerful barrier. And it stops a lot of people from achieving their goals, and it stops a lot of people from trying new things and so forth.
I think the original kind of conversation me and you were having, we were talking about art and various forms of, I guess, self-expression in that regard, and how some people have managed to make a fortune for themselves and their whole family and their whole family line. Just through making art, or again, if it's visual art, or doing something that may look kind of small. Let's say they're very good at baking cakes, and then they turn that into a multi-billion-dollar company or corporation. And we were kind of talking about that, and we came to realize that just how many of us hold ourselves back from actually kind of pursuing our goals. So many of us we'll have something that we're good at, we'll have that one skill or that one thing that just naturally comes to us, and we kind of think, well, but I'm not good enough, like I'm not as good as these other people because I haven't yet made millions, you know what I mean? But it's not necessarily like, I don't think it's necessarily...
No, I think, you know what, especially because of social media and, the ability for everyone nowadays to be able to look at other people and their work
and compare.
And fall into that comparison. I think that's pretty much what really does it, what brings on all that self-doubt, what brings on all of these insecurities for a lot of people. Because when you think about it, if we were to go back a few decades to when social media wasn't a thing, and we were all kind of only within our circles, and we didn't have access to the world's information, we didn't have access to everybody else's lives, we would pretty much only see ourselves and then the people that we surround ourselves with. So if one person decided to go do something in one area, they don't really have anything really to compare within their group because nobody else is doing it but you. So the beautiful thing about social media and the ability to actually see into other people's lives and whatnot is to compare in a good way, kind of see for inspiration or to learn from people who are doing better than you, or so on and so forth. But
I feel like one of the more important things is, I mean, given the fact that we are allowed nowadays to be able to peek in and see how, like, what the process is of somebody, right? Like what their process is, what their creative process is, right? Like how they think about creating something, right? How they get to their final finished product. Because we have a peek into that, not only are we able to grow faster and get better faster because we can copy the pros, or we can not necessarily copy, but like get inspired by them and kind of follow in their footsteps. But also, it kind of helps you to see and maybe distinguish much earlier on in your journey how exactly you're different from all these other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
Make
you're
yourself
able
stand out.
Yeah, because you're able to like go all the way back. If you're like me, you'll go all the way back to their feed on their feed, and you'll go all the way back to like the first few posts, and you'll see, okay, this is how this person started. Okay, they started doing this like this and blah blah blah. And that way, then you're able to kind of make a judgment call and be like, okay, I can follow in these footsteps, and I can just put my own twist on it. I feel like that helps a lot.
It does, and that's where social media comes in, because without the ability, and not even just social media, but even just the internet and everything in general, like the advances that we have in our society today versus what we had just a few decades ago, has changed the way that we live our lives forever, and have changed the way that we learn from other people forever.
Definitely.
Like unless you were being taught that in school, nobody would really, like, there was nothing else.
It was a lot harder. You had to find people who were good. You had to find somebody who will teach you.
The mentee-mentor relationship
kind of
was
like
very
that.
popular.
Yeah, it was kind of like that, because otherwise there's no other way, really. But I feel like, I mean, I think social media in general is a slippery slope. I think it kind of has both
its
sides.
Pros and cons, obviously.
Because I feel like, I mean, I don't know about you, but I feel like especially nowadays, it's very hard to ever say, okay, this is original. Because nothing is ever original. Nothing is ever new anymore. Like, think of literally any single song you've ever heard in your life that's new, that's been coming out now. All of them have been sampled through a song that was released, let's say, in the 90s, and then that one was sampled, you know, or taken from a sample of a song that was made in the 50s or 40s. You know what I mean?
Well, I wouldn't argue all of them are like that.
Not
but
all
there's
of them,
definitely
but a large majority.
yeah, of course. There's
It's very,
definitely a large majority. And the thing is, we're in the creative industry. You know, when you're in the creative industry, like, there's inspiration everywhere, and sometimes you're referencing without even realizing you are. So that's
definitely
where it's with social media and everything, I think the good part of that is that it brings new ideas to light.
But then it's harder not to copy it, right?
Not just that, but it also brings in that whole self-doubt portion of it all, because now you start to see what other people are doing, and then you start to think to yourself, well, am I good enough to even do this, or do I have the skill to push this forward? Like, is this even worth the time, basically, So
it's really scary when you think back on, when you look at, let's say, people and their success. It's kind of difficult to think like, well,
nobody posts their struggles.
Right, when they don't, they're not supposed to. I mean, social media, that's the whole reason it blew up, right? That's the whole reason that people actually got so into social media, is because all you see is perfection, right? And we like pretty things. That's the psychology of human beings. We like, I guess perfection, or what we perceive as perfection, right? We all have shitty days. We all have even months or weeks or whatever, where we're just not on top of our games. But nobody's going to share that. Because why would you want to go and see your favorite blogger or favorite whoever being depressed? You don't want that, right? Because you're depressed. I mean, I hope not. I hope not. But, so it's like, it's a lot. I hope that you're not depressed. Please don't be depressed.
Please don't be depressed.
But I just feel like it's a lot. It can be hard to really put yourself in the shoes of, let's say, again, if we're going back to art, so many famous artists out there, half of whom are very into like contemporary art or like modern contemporary art. But whoever it is that you look up to in whatever industry you're interested in, it's hard to put yourself in their shoes when they were just starting off. It's a lot easier to compare yourself currently to them currently, right? You look at, let's say, Elon Musk, and you're like, well, he has all of this, right? He does this, he does that. But then it's like, well, then, but like, looking back, what, like, how old was he when he started everything? 19, 20? He was really young.
He was very young.
Right? When you look back at him when he was starting, he didn't have, I mean, to my knowledge at the very least, he didn't have a lot of the stuff he does now. He definitely wasn't the billion-dollar freaking whatever.
No, I know what you mean. And it actually reminds me of something that, we were talking about previously. You know how I said that, you can't start at step 1 and then compare yourself at someone who's at step like 10,000. You know what I mean? Like, you have to take those steps, and those steps are different for everybody. But the problem with social media is that you tend to see people at their step 100 or their step 1000 or whatever the case may be. Like, you see them at different steps, different stages in their lives, and then you automatically start to compare, especially when it's younger people within the same age group as you. I know
that's even harder.
Of course, because
it's your ego.
It's your ego a little. But at the same time, there's definitely, we're in our early 20s. There's early 20s out there that are doing completely different things, but that doesn't mean that their starting point was not hard either. Like, everybody starts somewhere. So I think that's where we come back to the whole, when you're self-doubting yourself, there shouldn't be a reason to self-doubt before you even had a chance to try. So at the very least, just try. And then continue trying, because until you see some kind of evidence of you, of the like some of the hard work actually paying off. But that could take a long time, right? So whether or not you see results coming in, the point is to try and to keep trying, because if this is something that you want to work, you'll make it work.
But it has to be something you actually like love to do. You know what I mean? I feel like it's important because let's say if something that you at least enjoy, you enjoy it a lot, you know? Or there's at least a part of it that you really enjoy to do. Because if you don't like it at all, or if you barely like, you're like, you know, you're barely tolerating it, at that point, it's so much harder for you to keep pushing yourself. And halfway through, if you're not seeing, you know, any of the positive feedback you would want to see, right, it's so much harder to not just drop it there and be like,
that's
well,
why you need to try it first and to keep going, because
Yeah,
as you
yeah,
start
yeah.
to go and as you start to try these
Yeah.
things, that's when you're gonna start to realize what it is that you really want and what it is you're
definitely.
willing to do to get there, you know?
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I just feel like it's important to kind of nail down why you're doing what you're doing. I feel like because it's so easy to be like, because I mean, initially when you start running a business, you open up your first, you know, whatever, all of your accounts, all your social medias, you start, the first couple of steps are exciting because you're like, whoa, like this is so exciting.
the tough part comes
Afterwards, because you plummet,
Yeah.
you go down, because in terms of even endorphins, like this is scientifically proven. Initially when you start something new, your endorphins and your just happiness you know, levels just go up, they skyrocket.
And you and I have
right?
experienced that
Yeah.
over and over and
Literally
over
so
again,
many
you know?
times.
So
But then the moment, like after a couple of a couple of days, a couple of weeks, whatever, it plummets, it goes down lower than it was before, so you feel extra useless, you feel extra like incapable of achieving whatever it is that you thought before, and you will sit there and you will convince yourself, I cannot do this. Okay, that is not true. I'm just saying
that is
not true. I just think it's important to, once you've set foot and you've decided you want to do this one thing, think about it really well, okay? Don't just run with it. Think about it, plan it out, have a solid plan in place. And once you've decided, the moment you start feeling that, like those negative feelings and emotions and thoughts of like you're incapable, you're incapable, you suck, you're never gonna get there, right? Because you will start thinking that way. Most likely, chances are, no matter how positive of a person you are, I'm just saying, wait it out. It's gonna be there. Like, you're gonna be low for a little bit, but you have, like, that's the most important time for you to keep pushing. I'm so passionate about this, but I've been through that. I mean, we both have. You know what I mean? And like, we both, and I mean, I guess the better part for us, we were lucky because we had kind of each other to talk about, or to talk to to talk to each other about this, okay?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like,
no, I know.
I mean, you've talked to me about this, and I've talked to you about this. Of like, hey, like, you understand, I've been trying to do this, and I want to stop, right?
And it's like, well, you've already gotten this far, so you might as well just keep going.
And I feel like this is a reoccurring topic we've been talking about a lot, but it's true. Like, this is literally one of the bigger struggles when trying to run a business, especially when you're younger.
Yeah. And it goes back to, you know, the whole steps thing, because, you know, if you have your business plan and you've written out your steps on how to get from, you know, step 1 to step 10 or whatever the case may be, like, I always recommend to have like little goals for yourself so they're easily attainable, than rather you know, having like absurdly large goals that will take you so long to achieve one by one, because at that point, like, it's really gonna ruin, it's overwhelming, and it's gonna demotivate you, and it's honestly a mess. But if you have small little attainable goals that you can achieve on a daily basis and stay consistent with it, that's where you're gonna see that long-term growth. And that's when you're gonna see the results later on.
And you definitely have to make sure you tackle it with micro goals or to-do lists, you know what I mean? Because our brains we're so much more likely to plan. When we plan ahead, we think, okay, I start business today, and tomorrow I buy my parents a multi-million-dollar mansion. That's not how it works, okay? Unfortunately, that's not how it works. Even, you know what I mean? So you have to, when you start planning something, and this is something I'm very, very, very guilty of. Okay, is to start planning and you kind of jump around to the time when you're already established. That's not, no. Like, you have to literally start from literally day one, the 24 hours in that one day. How are you using those 24 hours to get to that end goal, okay? And then using the next 24 hours and the next, you know what I mean? It has to be literally planned down to, I want to say by the minute, if you can. The first, like, half an hour, this is what I'm doing. Half an hour, this is what I'm doing. Because then it's so much more understandable for your brain to comprehend, okay, cool, I need to write a proposal here from from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. 9 p.m. That's a long proposal.
Oh my god.
I meant 8 a.m. to 9 a.m.
13 hours.
Sorry. I meant 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. let's say, right?
Yeah.
You write a proposal, then you create content from this time to this time, okay?
Yeah.
It's so, and again, when I say content, you have to write down exactly what type of content, everything, be as detailed as possible. And then once you've kind of have that down, it's a lot easier to kind of go through it and then be like, okay, I can actually achieve this.
Exactly. So basically just spreading out, like having your goal in mind and then kind of working backwards to what it is that you need to do on a daily basis to be able to get there. And whether that's creating content consistently and posting, or if that's, constantly, spending a couple hours doing sales calls or whatever the case may be, but it's a consistent action over time that eventually leads to those results. So I think, for the most part, self-doubt is basically just something that every single one of us have, and it's one of those excuses that we give ourselves to not do something that we want to do and to not achieve the things that we want to achieve. And to be honest, nobody ever has it figured out from day one, ever. So even, all of the millionaires and billionaires, none of them knew what the hell they were doing the second they started, but you figure it out as time goes. And it's no different for them than it is for us. And it's no different for us than it is for you. So the point is to really just start. You start, you learn along the way, you will fail, you'll try again, and you'll keep going and going until eventually you get it right. And then eventually at that point, then you can keep building on that and scale it and so forth.
Absolutely.
So,
and I think to kind of leave this on a positive note, we believe in you.
We believe in you very much.
And because we've spent literally, I think at this point it's been years of us just either trying and failing and then still getting up and still trying and then applying everything that we've learned from our past ventures and our past experiences onto our current ventures, and all the research we've done, we're trying to apply that, and we're trying to kind of share some of our experiences and what we've noticed actually worked for us.
Exactly.
And so to kind of finish up, self-doubt has no space here. Place here.
It has no place here.
No, at all.
But okay, perfect. So,
well, thank you so much for listening, you guys.
Yeah, thank you. And we will be back soon with another episode.
Yeah. Bye-bye.